What if Daniel Quinn is exactly right? What if it's our defining stories of meaning, purpose, and destiny that most determine our course from here on out? What if we humans are not deranged, flawed creatures at all, but instead belong here as much as butterflies and bison and birch trees? What if it's mostly just a matter of deleting a suite of stories that has occupied our heads? I remember how Quinn's good news filled my heart and mind and soul with some new possibility. I know I don't feel flawed and deranged. And most of the people I encounter feel like good souls doing their best in a mad situation. We are all just born into a culture that is clearly harmful to the community of life and to ourselves. I know in my own life that I've slowly learned to enact a very different story from the one in which I was raised. I know that it's possible. But whether possible or not, I'm not sure how this generalizes out to whole populations. And I'm not sure how it can turn into actual on-the-ground change in the physical world. A few weeks back, in preparation for this conference, I did an informal survey asking friends and readers what they thought about whatever movement they saw happening in the world and how that movement was succeeding or failing or both. While the responses I received were all over the map in terms of whether there even is a movement, whether there should be a movement, or what the movement was up to, there was a fair amount of agreement that while this movement has succeeded in raising some awareness, we have yet to see that translate into large-scale preparation for what's coming, let alone a large-scale effort to stop the destruction of the living planet and, quote, save the world as a habitat for as many other species as possible. As Michael Brownlee wrote, quote, I don't know if there will ever emerge a coherent and robust and truly viral transition movement in this nation. For many, it just seems too difficult, too big a challenge. We in this room feel the catastrophe looming and have self-selected as some of those who will attempt to meet it consciously. We see the limitations and consequences of our old cultural vision of ruling the world, but it seems we've yet to find and speak the new vision that will catch on like wildfire. And time, it seems, is running short. Methane is now boiling up from lake bottoms in the far north. The Great Barrier Reef is dying. Radiation continues to spew from Fukushima, and oil, perhaps, from the Macondo Reservoir. Global CO2 emissions increased by 6% in 2010. And our leaders appear to be largely insane. Oh my. What Quinn said about vision and timing and readiness for change resonates with me. We need a new defining vision of who we are and why we are here. And we need it by yesterday at the latest. But defining visions, Quinn said, grow out of long periods of experience and shift one meme at a time. If we're staring at a 9% oil depletion rate and 6% CO2 increases, it doesn't look to me like we have long periods of time. When I look at the world through Quinn's eyes, I see lots of programs, lots of sticks in the river, but very few new minds. I see bootstrapping and problem solving and yes we canning and get her doneing. But it feels to me that if the world is telling us anything right now, it's telling us that that strategy is not working. If, quote, no paradigm is ever able to imagine the next one, and, quote, if the time isn't right for a new idea, no power on earth can make it catch on, then what are we supposed to do? A new vision? How are we going to get from here to there? Or are we? Even though ruling the world appears to have come at the cost of catastrophe, I don't know how we stop ruling the world. How do we free ourselves from 10,000 years of cultural conditioning? How do we let go of the idea that the world was made for us? The dominant culture, an operating system that has been installed in our hearts and minds, does not wish to be uninstalled. That urge to control will fight us and fool us at every turn. Even were we to manage to break free of that programming, what else is there besides ruling the world? At this point, it feels like the truest thing I can say to you is this: I don't have the answers to these questions. I don't know where we're headed or how we'll get there. I don't know how to create a new vision that will spread like wildfire. And some days I'm pretty despairing that such a thing is even possible. I know that my personal attempts to uninstall the dominant culture from my own being are not yet finished. I still get caught in my own identity as a tall, white American male who knows the one right way. It happened yesterday. It will happen today. Just because this thing called saving the world may require both new minds and a new vision, it does not necessarily follow that my work is to go around trying to change minds and invent a new vision. I question my own work of, quote, waking people up. The blogs I've written, the articles and essays I've posted, the documentary we made, all the convincing and explaining and persuading and even frightening people into consciousness and action. While it was all done with the heartfelt intention and desire to contribute something good to the world, it has also carried a strong whiff of covert domination and control in the one right way, my right way. Despite my good intentions, I wonder if trying to solve the problem of creating a new vision has actually kept me trapped in the old one. Clearly, confronting one's own cultural programming is not for the faint of heart. This can be challenging and subtle work, but it's my experience that the work is worth doing. In the time that Sally and I have worked together to face into our collective predicament, the process or journey known as the Vision Quest has resonated with us both as a helpful lens through which to view our situation. There's nothing really mysterious about the basic process, I think. We use it in our daily lives. Every time we meet a challenge that causes us to shed an old story or idea or behavior and open up to something new, some new guidance or information from the world around us. The Vision Quest, as practiced around the planet and across the ages, simply adds ritual, intention, and tradition to that process and focuses on the matter of our core sense of identity, the questions of who we are and why we are here. There might be a death lodge ritual, for instance, in which we let go of our own self and of our own sense of self and identity and empty out our feelings, beliefs, and stories that no longer work in our lives. There might be a 3-day fast in the wilderness during which we open up to and listen to that which is outside of us, the elemental forces of the natural world, or the voices of what some call spirit. In all cases, the Vision Quest is exactly what it says it is, a quest for a vision to guide us. We push ourselves beyond the limits of who we have been thus far in order to connect with our true selves and to hear the truth of the universe in which we live. If we are lucky, we will receive a new vision, a new story, a new direction, something we can bring back into our own lives, into our communities, to bring healing and connection for all. I said earlier that I can feel lost and despairing if our task is to invent or concoct a new vision for ourselves. But when I step into the notion of the Vision Quest, I remember that the initiate does not go into the quest with a vision already in hand. That would just be more control. I begin to see that I'm doing the work exactly as I need to, sitting for long days and months and sometimes even years in the death lodge, passing slowly through the messy and sometimes excruciating process of letting go, burning through my impulses to control and dominate, my attachments to knowing the one right way, my fear of feeling helpless and out of control, and my stories of who I am and why I am here. Then I go out into the wilderness of our current culture with no vision at all. It is humbling to open up, to listen, to connect with the world around me. But it's my experience, and the experience of many others, that it is only with empty hands that I can receive the vision that is given to me. So I slow my breath. I get still and silent and simply watch and listen. All of a sudden, my burdens melt away. I don't have to struggle to wake people up. I can sense that new minds are already forming, walking the streets beside me, ready to shine out once the time is right. I don't have to invent some new vision out of whole cloth. I can trust that new visions are already coming to us as we walk this wilderness, rising right inside and underneath and beside the old vision, hidden in plain sight in the landscapes of our lives, ready to spread like wildfire when the time is right. Perhaps the first signposts, the first new memes, are already visible. Where might we look for such signposts? What visions are now arising from our long experience of trying to be the rulers of the world and of failing so gloriously? How is the next paradigm already peeking around the corners of the present one? I can tell you where I'm looking. I'm looking at the wild and woolly Occupy movement, at what Paul Hawken calls our blessed unrest, at the deep green resistance movement, the zeitgeist movement, the wayseers, at the various risings up around the world, at the crowds in the streets and the more quiet, less noticeable work being done behind the scenes. I'm looking at people's attempts to form new cultures, from the co-housing movement to permaculturists to biker clubs and street gangs and religious groups, from the hippies and slackers to the anarchists and anti-civers. I'm looking at the use of various mind-altering substances, at the rise of extreme sports, extreme makeovers, and extreme self-expression. I'm looking at the movies people watch, the books they read, the music they listen to, the wild and intriguing dreams and visions that come to them through the media, from Middle Earth to Pandora and beyond. I'm looking at how these media have put us in touch with cultures, lifestyles, and worldviews from around the world and across time. I'm looking especially at how these media view our collective future, the dystopian visions, the imagined futures, the approaching singularity. I'm looking at people's fascination with the so-called fringes of science, spirituality, and consensus reality, from UFOs, crop circles in the near-death experience, to lost civilizations in the quantum, holographic, chaotic universe, the alternate worlds, the alternate explanations, the anomalous data. I'm looking at our fascination with conspiracies, with a hidden ruling elite, hidden technologies, hidden plans, hidden agendas. I'm looking at our television series, these windows into the intimate lives of people, real and imagined, living lives fully felt and fully expressed, where people try and fail and grow and try again. I'm looking at the internet, the cell phones, the webs, the connections, the interactions, the constant contacting, messaging, texting, poking, the direct line to information and analysis, the endless hits of love and like, the constant calling out of here I am. I'm looking at our multitude of human addictions, the unceasing attempt not to get what the addictive behavior or substance provides, but something more than the substance provides. I'm looking at all of these things and seeing not the deluded, dumbed-down, comfort-addled sheeple that my own angry, judging ego would want me to see, but good, essential souls trapped in thick crusts of culture and ego, doing their best in a mad situation and acting out their deep animal longings and knowings in the only ways they know how, trying to challenge the limits of the current dominant global vision at every turn, and in the words of Jim Morrison, break on through to the other side. How might these things I'm looking at, and many others, be signposts to a new paradigm? I'm not sure what to say here. I know for myself that sitting quietly in the wilderness of no vision, with the cultural blinders largely removed, just observing the universe as it presents itself to me, I've grown skeptical of the strict materialism of our culture and am stepping into a view of reality more in accord with my felt experience of living in a chaotic quantum world unfolding beyond the limits of my ability to predict and control. I've grown suspicious of the strictly rational and am adding the non-rational and intuitive to my bag of tools. I feel sick unto death of ruling the world, of struggling to be in control of my life, of having to know the answer and be in charge and pretend that I know what the hell I'm doing. Slowly, I'm learning to trust the callings and longings and excitements that arise in my own heart, rather than the voices of the culture that speak inside my head. I've lost my trust in Yankee ingenuity and problem solving. I hunger for intimate connection, shared feelings, and the honest expression of our true selves, for stories of meaning and purpose and belonging in a vast and mysterious universe that's as alive as I am. But I hesitate to analyze and name what is arising, as to name it may be to limit it. And what I feel in my very flesh is that the new defining river of vision arising amongst us is way more powerful, way more uncontrollable, and will be way more surprising than anything I can wrap my words around. What I see is this. If this is a vision quest, then we are in the midst of it. Passing through the death lodge of this culture and just beginning to open up to what the living world is telling us. I can sense a new vision coming and see some signposts, but I cannot speak that vision clearly in tidy words that will, as Daniel Quinn wrote, quote, make the earth tremble and the stones weep and the skies open up. That's as far as I can go. What I feel in my heart is that if we are to avoid complete catastrophe, it will be because the new rivers of vision that will take us somewhere else are already flowing around us. My job is not to invent or concoct, but to simply feel and begin to see what is already here. Thank you.